Hello, everyone. This is Ben Dunn, founder of Antarctic Press, creator of such comics as Ninja High School, Warrior Nun, Marvel Mangaverse, and a host of many other comics, including Tomorrow Girl, which I have a campaign up on Indiegogo. So check it out. I think you'd like it. It's a nice throwback to the old Silver Age of heroes, where heroes were heroes. Which sort of brings me to my sort of thought for the day is what exactly happened to our heroes, or at least specifically more comic book superheroes. You know, one of the old sayings is that never meet your heroes. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because sometimes, you can be disappointed by meeting people that you admire, that you elevate to hero status, so to speak. But a lot of times they turn out just to be like normal human beings that somehow accomplished something that was impressive or that you admired, and you hope to emulate. And that's what heroes are supposed to be. They're supposed to be representatives of something better than ourselves that we can hope to achieve. And I think that when the superheroes first came on the scene back in the late 1930s, early 1940s, they hoped to teach young readers that there are things above themselves. That, there are things that we should fight for, that will make things a better place, a better world, so to speak. And it was a very simplistic attitude to take, but it did its job. It taught a lesson, I don't know how effective it really was, maybe it was not very effective. Maybe it was just simple entertainment. People, kids especially, which it was aimed at, so speaking. So what happened? Well, what happened was, I think that comic publishers, lost sight of who their audience was. Especially when the direct market exploded onto the scene back in the late 70s, early 80s. Where publishers no longer adhere to the Comics Code, which, despite what people may think, really did help elevate comics, to be accepted by a general population. I always wondered what would have happened if there never was a Comics Code, that comics were just able to do whatever they wanted. Superheroes probably would have died off a long time ago because they just weren't selling. They just weren't doing, business. Horror and westerns and other genres became more popular. I mean, I'm not saying there weren't going to be superhero comics. There'll always be a place for adventure heroes, but they probably would have fit a small niche in the grand scheme of things. I mean, that's neither here nor there. The fact is, Comics Code did exist, and but when the direct market started, comics went a change. The publishers realized they no longer needed to produce comics that would sell in the long term. What I mean by that is that anyone who knows what the direct market is this is how it works. The direct market was created so that it would service comic book stores, which were growing at the time. They were, becoming more and more prevalent. People were actually wanting to go to comic stores to buy back issues and to buy the newest issues. And the thing about it was that it differed from newsstand in that comic book publishers no longer needed to accept returns. Now, this was a big boon for them because they didn't want to deal with returns. Returns were such a pain in the butt to publishers, but they had to deal with it because that's just the way it worked. With non-returnable, once it's sold, it's sold. They all had to do was sell enough to justify putting it out, and then they didn't care. They didn't care about what happened if it didn't sell or not. That was on the retailer. So it got to the point that I think comic book publishers began to understand that, especially the big two, they just produced stuff that sold well initially. They didn't have to worry about whether they were popular or not, because they made their money, and that was the end of that. Unfortunately, I think it's starting to backfire on them. That they think that they can produce anything they want, and they will rely on it to sell, because what choice do the comic book stores have, right? They're dependent on Marvel and DC. That was the one thing I think was the biggest mistake that a lot of comic book stores did, is that they didn't diversify their inventory. Now, granted, Marvel and DC are the big two. They're huge. No question about it. They're very, but I'm seeing a slow erosion of their influence. I'm seeing that it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen. They abandoned the newsstand market. So what other things do they have? They have the comic book stores, and that is shrinking. Unfortunately, comic book stores are closing in alarming numbers, and not new ones are not coming up to replace them. It was just, sad for me, because I love comics, but what